Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Mean Green Nation podcast. Welcome to it. Folks, Sundays are always just a little bit more beautiful after a Mean Green win, especially after wins in Ruston, Louisiana. For whatever reason, it's always been difficult for North Texas to win over there, right? Like,
Yeah,
you
it's a
saw
hard place to win.
you saw the game notes and stuff where they're like, we lost four of the last five. And I was trying to match that up with my own, uh, like thoughts. Like, is that right? Is that what happened? It didn't feel like that. But I think some of the fact was that, like when we go over there, we're not always a good team, right? We being North Texas, right? Just in case it's not clear. And like I'm thinking, all right, well, is that because why we're not a good team. Whatever. It just going over there was bad. It was difficult, and the couple times we had a good squad trying to do some things. Right, in 2013, Dan McCarney, 2017, Seth Luttrell got some big wins over in Ruston, right? And the other times, like they would come over here or something like that. And then, to their credit, Louisiana Tech pulled out a big victory. That one we were on the field, and then they blocked that kick. Right. It was mostly a good day, except Lauren Easley got injured in that one. I think everything would have been different. That's football for you, right? This one, not as huge of a win, right? Because it doesn't mean hey they're going to a bowl game or hey first. It's a huge win because Eric Morris was, and I don't want to say he was on the hot seat, but you could see
We
somebody
had
getting,
questions.
yeah, somebody getting ready to plug it in. You know what I mean? Maybe they weren't going to turn it on, but they're plugging it in. Just kind of, hey, can we just do a check on that hot seat, make sure it works the way we? I mean, look, and rightly so, right? I think it's cliche for everybody to be like, oh, everybody don't, nobody believes in us, right? I mean, we're gonna check these receipts, whatever, man. I expect everybody to do that kind of thing. For the because they got to motivate themselves. Like football is unique, and that you got to run and smash into other people. And I can tell you that humans are not really built to do that. Like they're built to like maybe get into that a fight every once in a while, but not every week. I mean, you have to build yourself up to want to go do that. So I don't really blame anybody for using any piece of motivation to say, all right, I'm gonna go take the, you know, he's talking about me. He hate me, right? That's the fun. Um, but the sober Monday morning, Sunday morning analysis is that look, uh, 590 yards, right, and lots of pick sixes, against Cal in that second half. This vaunted offense with a lot of returning production, couldn't move the ball. Had 9 yards total offense, right? I think I wrote it was like if they just didn't walk out, they would have got just nine fewer yards. It's not impressive, you know what I mean? And Eric Morris, and I promise I'll give you a chance to talk. Ladies and gentlemen, Aldo's with us from the Northwest. It's approximately 1 a.m. over there. I don't know how time zones work anymore. Um,
It's so dark.
yeah, it looks like he's. Yeah, I remember that time of day reminds me of getting ready for school, and so I kind of hate it. I'm like, oh, it's like 5 in the morning. It's like I remember telling my mom, I'm like, man, it's not even light out. Why am I getting ready for school? This is stupid. All right, back to what I was saying. Uh, to Eric Morris's credit, right, in his press conferences, and this is where it's an improvement. Definitely an improvement over Seth Luttrell. He's more forthcoming. He's more honest, and he's like, yeah, look, and I'm paraphrasing here. Um, we didn't do what we wanted to do, right? It's a work in progress. We're gonna try some things. I challenged the coaches, to let's do something different. And we saw that, right? They tweaked some of the starting lineup. Guys got a different amount of playing time. So Lorenzo Thompson play a little bit more corner, started at corner for the first time. We saw Chandler Rogers get to start at quarterback. He played really well in the second half against FIU. And that paid dividends. We saw a little more four-man front now about that because that's getting a little life of its own. The three-man front got a life of its own. Everybody's like, "This is the whole reason," right? Like that's not the whole reason. Um, and then the other one was like, "Oh well, this is the whole reason because we got four men." It was like basically the first series, and I was looking and looking. Sometimes when I wasn't always staring at it, I was looking at some other situations. But I swear, if I look at this again, it was only in the first series that it did four men front, and whatever, that's fine. You only have a week to install. They only have a certain amount of things. Um, but hey, it looked better, and I think for the casual football fan, you're like, I saw four. It looked like four. They switched to a four. What mental shift, whatever it was, those work, right? Because I think you have to also remember it's entertainment, so you got to entertain the people watching. So you do a little bit, do a little fan service, and everybody's happy again. Now, Aldo, this is your chance to talk. Apologize for speaking for approximately 17 minutes straight. How you doing? And how
I
was
forgot what I was gonna say.
hey man, that NIT win was good. Right, somewhere else. So where
Yeah,
you?
can we
So
go
you're
back to
you're
basketball?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
you're all the way in the northwest, right? That you want to explain a little bit of that for us, just why you're out there? Is it because you hate
yeah.
Texas?
I no longer live in DFW. My headquarters have moved out to Pacific Northwest, out in Washington. And
Mm.
yeah, back in July we made the move. Got a new job. Grabbed the kids, hauled them through here, and it's that's where we are now.
Yeah, I imagine it was something like, I can't take it. It was just hot one day. You're just like, I can't take this. I can't take this. We're
It's
moving,
been
kid.
building. Yeah, I walk outside and I thought this is a choice. This is like I'm choosing to stay in this heat.
I mean, you were, it does get super hot in Texas. It was one of the hottest summers ever in the history of ever right here. And, okay. All right. So, all right. Back to what we're talking about. The four-man front. Did to your eyes, right? Four down linemen, if in case you're wondering what that means, like right at the line of scrimmage, instead of three, and then like a linebacker behind them, and then this new three stack, they had four, and they only had the two linebackers behind them. Everything else, by my observations, I didn't rewind it or anything like that, but I just saw it. It looked a lot of the same. Still had three safeties. Still had that Joker star safety, what they call the one that just flies up, to make a play. Did you see anything different?
I think I don't know. It's tough, right? Because that series when they had the four man front, four down linemen, it they were stuffing them, but we stuffed them several times throughout the game. A lot of times that they had three and outs, um, and then there were big mistakes towards the end of the game. I think it difference. I mean, there's only one, like you said, there's only 1 week to install certain things when in a brand new scheme. You know, you've been learning the 3-3-5 or whatever for a whole summer, spring. You're installing those packages and teaching those schemes and the mental part of that type of defense to the players, and then you bring a brand new design for four man front. I mean, maybe they made it easy where it's like one simple package that they were going to try some stuff out, but I mean, the problem is not going to be the package. The problem is going to be how fast is the guy to catch up to the wide receiver or the running back that runs past them, or are they going to be in the right gap and are they going to attack the gap at the right time? I think there were some um, better aspects to that, uh, identifying the gap, shooting the gap at the right time, this and that. Before they were too impatient, and then the linemen would open the lanes for the running backs, and it still happened this game too. Um, that I think it's too soon to tell. It looked good, and 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 if I'm just watching casually, I'm gonna say, let's go back to that, and which is fair because we when it was working, we were stuffing them, stopping them, getting the ball back, scoring, and when it wasn't working, they were scoring 23 points or whatever in a quarter. It's I think it's too soon to tell, and I'd like to see. It's going to be more about coaching the player, whatever scheme it is. We can have one down lineman. Um, if they're not going to be able to identify their reads, their keys, whatever you want to call them, it's still going to suck.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, right? It like so from what I heard, I think Tony, friend of the show, so he was talking to a defensive lineman parent. And they said, yeah, they were practicing it all week for 4-man front, and yeah, like, what does it take a week to just add another guy? Yeah, yeah, because it changes the way that you react to a given thing, right? You think about what you have to do and then what like in this situation, what do they have? A tight end. Well, they have two tight ends. Where do I go? How do I attack? Like where it the way you stand, where you stand, and then how you attack, it changes, right? What are the zone blocking when we're in this over front, right? What do they go man to man when we're in this, under front, right? What do we go like Oki right on them? Like do we go head to head on the center? What are my assignments then? Because it changes for everybody. Everybody's run fits change, right? Because if uh, the nose tackle goes left, that means the middle linebacker, somebody with a strong side linebacker, if you only got two, that means he goes right, and then that means the safety has the support is a force player some one way, right? So all that changes just a little bit, and it's pretty easy. These are football players; they've been playing for a long time, playing defense, but you still got to do some processing, right? And then there's checks that you got to do some checks. It's hardest on the secondary guys that are asked to be those hybrid dudes, right? So this is also funny, right? I remember like playing NCAA football, and then one of these dudes, he just stopped the run game with like a dime package all the time. And now you're not supposed to be able to do this, right? I was paying him online. I was like, how does he do it? It was like with Oklahoma State or something like that. And he had all these defensive backs. Now the thing was that he had so much speed. Again, it's a video game, but he would use his safeties. He was like controlling a safety, and that safety would just fly wherever I was gonna run. So like he would just have all the linemen just dive in, kill the middle, and so I had to bounce it out, and he would just beat me out there because he had a fast safety. Right? It's a video game thing. I was like, oh, this dude's cheesing. It's not real life. But then you look at the odd stack, right? The Iowa State. That's basically what they're doing. If you look at North Texas, and then you look at Louisiana Tech, they were trying to do the same thing. That's what they're doing. They're saying, you know what, our safety's fast, and he's faster than any linebacker that we have. And so, if we slant one way or we go head up on their ends, right, and kind of stonewall them, so we can sort of basically kill anything that runs inside. Our guy's fast enough to get down and make a tackle. And adding to that, modern football stats say, you give up 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's fine because that's not going to beat us, right? The spread offense is about getting chunk yards, and getting guys in space and scoring 45 points a game, right? If they want to run the ball, run for 150 yards in this game, and take 17 plays doing it, that's fine because our offense is going to score 40 and they'll score 20. And that's fine. We'll win that game. Instead of winning 20 to nothing, old school football, right? No ground given. We'll give up, we'll bend, but don't break because we know that the splash plays are the dangerous plays, right? So that's the whole thinking. And when it works, it's very good. When it doesn't work, it looks bad, right? When and you can see when it didn't work, right? North Texas was running against a very similar scheme. One that what's his name praised. Eric Moore said that I knew that guy from Stephen F. Austin, and he does a good job, and whatever. Ayoadeji ran for was it 125 yards?
A lot of yards, a lot of good yards.
He ran for numerous,
MVP.
copious yards.
Yeah, and but I think what you're describing is that just got to out talent the other team. You're not out scheming them. You're out talenting them because you're faster. or stronger than the other one, and that's kind of what we've been seeing, or at least what we saw in the last game is that Adey was faster than everybody. And granted, to be fair, the offensive line were blocking much better. Uh, so this kind of mostly more applies to the defense. The defense looked better because we were out muscling at the line of scrimmage a lot of times, or we were chasing down folks. Otherwise, they would have broken free for 75-yard touchdown. And I think that's still a problem. That's still a glaring issue that we're not out scheming guys. We're just out running guys. It'll change, you know. Guys are still learning. It's not going to be. I mean, let's just say if they fix the problem, it'll be fine. If they're teaching guys, that'll be fine. But if we don't learn anything, if our guys aren't learning stuff throughout the season, then it's going to be Todd Dodge football all over again.
Yeah. So, and that's really so. I wrote a little quick, you know, reaction thing on the Mean Green Nation. By the way, go sign up for the Substack. I moved it over from meangreennation.com to the meangreennation.substack.com. I'm gonna eventually um, move the whole URL there, but I host some stuff on meangreennation.com right now. So everything's just kind of moving over. If you ain't know, as my brother said, um, that's where it is, and it's easier though. Two things. One, it's easier because I don't have to manage a lot of the other stuff. I'd find myself like, "Ooh, I got some football opinions. Time to write something," and I'm like, "Oh, this needs to update. Let me make this better. Let me do it." So and then I end up doing that, and then I don't write anything. But the website looks a little bit more shiny than it did before. Now I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna write, and I just started writing. Right. So that first week I had post scheduled. It was great. Everybody's getting everything right when I schedule it. Right. I was sleeping while you already getting the email. However, I took this trip to Las Vegas and threw off my whole week. 'Cause, I traveled on Monday, and that's normally when I was doing like the "Hey, this is what happened" kind of post. But I hadn't really watched the game because I had a terrible connection, so I'd see it. I was like delayed, or I'd missed like 5 plays. I knew what happened, but I didn't I didn't get to watch it as closely as I wanted to. So I had to rewatch the game. By the time I rewatched the game, started writing the post, it was like Wednesday. So it's already like trying to get ready for La Tech. So a lot of that stuff happened, and then like Eric Morris was like, all right, we're gonna change everything. Chandler Rogers is gonna start. Things change. So I think I'm back on the schedule now. So I wrote on the thing right that um, what we want is improvement. We don't need the best defense ever, right? We have and North Texas has a solid offense, right? There's a lot of reason to think that this offense can move the ball. We saw it last year. I know Eric Moore's like, no, last year's not. I've been talking to the guys. Last year's not there. It's true, but we got 3 of the 4 guys, right? Ikaka Ragsdale is out for the season. We got 3 of the 4 guys that were there last year running all over everybody. We saw a little bit of that last week. Attaway, dancing around dudes, running hard, looking unstoppable. This week, Adeyi running for his 150 yards is what it is, folks. 148 yards rushing on 19 carries, 2 touchdowns, long of 25. And by my count, 6 rushes of 10 plus yards, which are splash play type yards, including 2 of plus 20. And then the other 2 was like 18 and 19, which are basically, it might as well be a splash run. Um,
He was the hero.
yeah, he was killing it. And I
Him
think
and
on the
Burns.
on the super secret slat, you were like, put Adaway back in as I think he's scampering for. I think he was doing it because you're a hater. He was saying he hates me.
Unsending.
Yeah, he was looking for the Northwest. He's like, he hates me, that guy. um, but yeah, so I mean, we have talent, right? You look at Macklin. I called it a grown man catch, and then Greg on Twitter was like, "Yeah, he did the Michael Irvin push off," and he did. Whatever, man. Like you get that feeling that if you put it up there to Macklin, he's gonna go get it or get close to it. You saw Rod Burns making grab after grab. I think he has one of the best hands on the team. I like Damon Ward. I've written about him and we podcasted about him too. Last year, I think he stood out to me against UAB. This year, he hasn't had as much time to shine, but he scored last week. He did some good things in this one. Good stuff all around, right? But I think Burns, what was it? 11 grabs, 134 yards on 14 targets. That's good stuff. 4 grabs, 55 yards to score for Macklin on 7 targets. Ward, like I said, two grabs on 3 targets for 38 yards. But they're big. Um, like thing about Rogers, we'll get to him a little bit more detail. Is he's finding guys. The offense opens up, and there's talent anywhere. Right, you go this way, it's Macklin running deep. You go that way, and it's that way. Taking the ball, and you go
I
do
like what
this.
you did there.
Yeah, and you go. I'm a professional punter. You go over this way. It's Rod Burns, right? There's talent enough, and maybe you're not going to compete with Alabama. Well, I don't know. Maybe USF was competing with Alabama, but maybe yeah, maybe you're not going to compete with the absolute top of college football, and that's fine, right? Because they have those dudes plus some other dudes. Um, but I think you can compete with a Louisiana Tech, with an FIU definitely, and you know you look at like UTSA, they weren't looking too good against Army, right? They weren't looking too good against Texas State. They weren't looking too good against who else they play? Houston. That middle of the table college football is kind of in a weird spot right now. Everybody's in a weird place. I think you can compete with them. First half against Cal, North Texas scoring touchdowns. You know, I'm not
Yeah,
scared of the schedule. I think you can move this with this offense. The defense doesn't need to be amazing. That was the end of my
I think you're getting too excited here.
point.
Yeah, the offense looks great. We've got a whole bunch of great pieces that Morris inherited from the previous regime, and then brought in Chandler Rogers to compete, to put it all together. Something that Latrell was never able to do, and now we're seeing how that looks like. Even though Rogers is still a little raw, you can tell that sometimes the pass sails on him a little bit. It's not that he sucks. It's just he's moving from Monroe to here, and it may be differences, getting used to the guys, getting used to the speed, whatever. He's a little raw, but you can see that the talent's there. You can see that not only can he pass the football, but he can improvise or just take off like a roadrunner. That dude is fast, and you can see the difference between his speed versus everybody else's speed on the field, which makes a huge difference. And you said, you think you mentioned that on the Twitters, that a guy like Frank Harris can change the dynamic on the field with his legs, and that's what Rogers is. And I appreciate that, and I think that will be helpful in basically outscoring other people, outracing other people. Might have scores of 45-40. As long as they're winning, I guess it doesn't matter. But it is concerning that's what we have to do, and that's what we were heading to last week against FIU. You can say, well, what if we started Rogers last week? Maybe we could have won it, maybe not. Um, it just depends on how long the defense could have held out for the offense, and those are going to be the questions that we're going to be talking about. I think for the rest of the season, it's not going to change, not until next season, even the season after that.
Yeah, so because I think a couple things are going to happen, right? Teams are going to adjust the Channel Rogers, North Texas offense. Um, but I still think, what is it, 313 yards in his first official start, 24-41. And I don't think you look at those 41, right? The was it the 10 or so passes that were misfired. I didn't see a whole lot that were like, that was just what a bad throw, right? Some of those, like, let me chuck it deep, for my guy, let him try to get something, right? And it's incomplete. Was out, like I think two of them were caught, but it was like out of bounds, right? Like caught along the side.
Right? Yeah, he's
Yes.
got a strong arm.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where like those are good incompletions. You know what I mean? Like it was right there. It was like maybe I think one of them was dropped if I remember right. But at no point we're talking about like feel, right? There's the objective truth of stats, and then there's also like how do you feel about them. I think because this applies, especially when you got a quarterback. You feel like you can do a lot more with Chandler Rogers back there. He's not
Mm-hmm.
staring down some of his guys the way Stone Earl was doing. He doesn't have happy feet the way Stone Earl was doing. And Morris says that Earl is just early. He just needs more reps, right? He's doing good things. He's gonna get good. But Rogers right now, um, he's calm in the pocket, and that's huge, right? And especially for a guy who can run, right? Running quarterbacks have a reputation of like, my first read's not there, it's time to run. That's usually a young QB thing. He has experience. He threw 20 touchdowns or something like that at Monroe. He looks. He's going through his reads. He hit the check down a couple times. Right. He was like one, two, three, four. Here's five, and he threw the ball over to Adayu. How many catches did he have? He had one. It was a 7 yard game. Adayu caught it, made a little move, got 7 yards. It's little things like that, right? Where the play called, hey, let's run this post, right? you know, post curl over here, and you're looking, it's designed to get 8 yards to 15 yards. Doesn't happen. Over here, nothing. Over here, hey, we got 7 yards, right? So you're +7 on that play. Whereas a young quarterback and an inexperienced quarterback, it's an incompletion. Maybe at worst a turnover because they try to force it. Hey, the play calls me to
Yeah,
go to the guy. Let me throw it to him. Oh, it didn't work out right.
yeah, and the offensive line many times were giving him all day to pass, which is great to see. And like you said, he was calm there.
Yeah, when you scolded me for being excited, I didn't even get to the offensive line. We have a lot of experience on the offensive line, So there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
one final comment there is with Rogers that and the feed was awful. Sometimes I could not see what was happening on the field, so I'm like, I think that's Rogers dropping back, and then the pocket starts to collapse, and I'm thinking, oh crap, the drive's ended, the series is over. But then all of a sudden he pops out and he scrambles for a first down or for a gain, and that's the type of player that Rogers is.
yeah, so that specifically was the thing that like I think Frank Harris kills everybody with. Like whatever you say about Frank Harris, I don't know that he's the best quarterback. And he was not really even the best quarterback in Conference USA. I think his mechanics are a little weird. He's not always throwing accurate balls, but he's won everything, right? So how, right? Because I think he's a big time player. That when the moment was big, right? You look at against North Texas, um, right? You need a drive. He threw the balls. He got the balls to his guys. Big time throws, and then credit to his receivers for making big time catches. But he put it. He gave him a chance, right? And he would extend plays, right? There's a lot of times when you're like, okay, we shut down UTSA. It's 4th and 3. How do we stop him? And you always have to account for him because he would scramble to extend a play to find a guy, a little dump off pass here, there, or something, or just run for it. I think Chandler Rogers brings that dynamic to North Texas, something we haven't had since a Mason Fine. And even then, Mason Fine, he didn't really do a whole lot of that, right? Like I think Rogers runs, you can see him run and look down the field. Like he can scoop, right? And he says he lifts, right? Because he do a block. Showed that dude knocked him down. That was hilarious.
Yeah, and when we're comparing types of runners, Mason Fine is more of a Tony Romo type of scrambler, while Chandler Rogers is more of the Michael Vick type of scrambler.
Yeah, but I mean, again, Mike Vick is a different level dude, and then even like the Tony Romo thing was, hey, let's not discredit Mason Fine. He ran for 80 yards in that one,
No, no, I'm just trying to yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah. I
always
mean,
bring
yeah.
it up.
I
Just the
mean,
difference in the type of running quarterback they
yeah.
are.
Yeah, so I mean, Rogers can take it to the house, right? But I think what he brings is like he can do it all, right? Because you have to account for that if you're the defense coordinator. Like this guy he can run past some of your guys here, so you can't just throw somebody's just spy him, just any old linebacker out there. And then he keeps his head up and he throws an accurate ball on the run. I think that late one, I forget when it was, when he rolled out right, threw a little pass. It was in the 2 minute drill, right, to win the game. He rolls out right, throws it one to the sideline on the run, puts it on time, on target. There's a lot of that. A couple of the yak yards by, there was one specifically by Rod Burns. He put it on time, again, on target, put it away from him. If he leads him the wrong way, it's a catch, but maybe just immediately down. But he caught it, made a move, turns up the field. Again, the whole point of this offense is to get the ball quickly to playmakers, vertically, horizontally. And I think Rogers does that for North Texas and adds the ability to run. So it extends plays, allows those guys to get open. And then, there's another threat. We saw against FIU, right? Hey, design run, take it up the middle, break a tackle, score a touchdown. Um, it's good. It is good stuff, and I think you saw a lot of that in this game, right? A lot of the good stuff we saw against FIU, which is overshadowed by the defense being poor. But I think you're right.
Caca.
Yeah, that we threw a pick six, right? And some again, that wasn't all Stone Earl. There was a couple times Earl was putting it on dudes. I think was it Smart. He like he said he did one of
Yeah,
those.
bounced out of his hand.
Yeah, and then
But
the
it
interception.
was a little behind him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. So that's the deal. Is that like, hey, you're not putting it on them. You're making it a little difficult to catch. It's everybody's job to do their job, right? You can't, you can't. It was the King of the Hill, right? Troy can't throw it and catch, right? So I mean, you can only just get the ball there. Like, you got to help out your quarterback because he can't always throw a perfect ball, right? It can't always hit you in the numbers. It can't always hit you on the fingertips, so you can catch it all the time. So you got to do what you got to do, right? Make a catch. But also, if you're the quarterback, give your guys a chance. Put it on time, on target. The whole thing. Everybody has to do the job better and can, but it's a team game. So be cover for each other. Your guys, your teammates not gonna always be perfect. So you help them out, right, by doing your
Yeah.
job well.
And the big difference here between this year, both Stone Earl and Rogers, is that the passes are being placed within arm's reach, right? They're not three
Yeah,
yards ahead of them, 5 yards behind them. There was one that I was rooting for because you saw it like play out. Christian Lee, is that his name? The tight end.
yeah,
He was wide ass open for a reception, but and Rogers was rolling out, and he was scrambling a little bit just because he was facing pressure on his face. And as he passed it, you're like, oh, wide open guy, but it was short,
yeah,
and it was too low for Christian Lee, which would have been his first career reception. I think he's been here 3 years, if I
yeah,
remember correctly.
yeah. I mean, yeah. That's the thing is that like it's football, right? They're trying to hit you because large dudes trying to take your face off. Um,
It's
you
not
know,
always going to be perfect, is my point.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, so I think to your point about last year, right? When I compare 562 yards in this one, right? 313 passing, 249 rushing. It was there was that whole list about how many times we got to 600 yards, and like a lot of them or most of them were under Seth Luttrell. To his credit, right? Yeah, I don't think we ever dismissed this notion. Like he had a reputation of getting a lot of big yards, a lot of big numbers. But what we wanted were the details, the wins in big moments. And he built a lot of a very good offense, right? And he ended up switching offense in the middle of it. It was less spread the ball and pass it, and was more let's run the ball and then throw it deep. He got good wide receivers here, right? Macklin, the everybody except Cleveland, basically, right? He's got good linemen here. They spent a lot of time recruiting a lot of linemen, and we said it's going to pay off long down the road. Like it was Graham Harrell saying, "Look, we got a really good lineman here. We did a really good job recruiting." Um, and uh, even Stone Earl, right? He was a quarterback that was recruited by Seth Luttrell in their squad. That's where his biggest failing was. But that running back room, that's all Seth Luttrell, Patrick Cobbs, that whole squad. They built all that, and there's been a lot of good offenses here. So we expected some kind of continuation of that. Eric Morris has a reputation of doing a similar kind of thing, building offenses. You can give him some credit for what UIW is doing the past couple of years because he set that foundation there. So we expected that to continue at the very least. And what I like so far, is that the quarterback play is very good, right? This was a tough game, and I think it's the kind of game that we'd expect an interception in previous one. Look, 59% completion percentage. That was a huge problem for North Texas in the past couple years. Yeah, a couple years where that completion percentage was like 50%, 49%, and that was for a lot of factors in that. But hey, look, 249 yards rushing, right? Run game hadn't changed. 313-yard passing, 2 touchdowns. Nine different guys caught a pass. That's some good offense right there. Just about, I won't say perfect, but that's just about as a good a performance as you can expect. No turnovers by the QB.
Yeah, on
There
your
was one
first
fumble or something.
start. Yeah, and there's a lot of nuance. Yeah, between this passing offense versus previous passing offenses. And I feel like my biggest complaint with Latrell is that he was trying to force it downfield to get big plays, and sometimes it would work, but most of the time it didn't. And that was because we couldn't do that. That was not Ani's strength, and that's not what how Ani should have been. That position that he should have been put in was not that. It was more of time, not even timing type of routes. The guy needed to be sitting still for Ani to hit it for hit him in the hands, and sometimes that wasn't
Can't be
always
out
the
there
case. But
moving around. Well, I mean, so what I'll say is that like what I like about this one, right, why I like this performance is that a couple of the good things that Ani did, right, is like against UTSA, big moment, big thing. He led his team down for the go-ahead touchdown, right? Like, that was one of those things where a big moment where you ask your quarterback, can you win? Big moment, can you execute? Can you throw the right passes, et cetera, et cetera. In this one, and we'll talk about why they got in this position in a second. But the defense blows a 10-point lead. I mean, the team blew a 10-point lead, right? The offense could have kept the ball. But we're saying, hey, it's tied. You were just up, and again, credit Morris for saying, "Hey, look, I own some of it. I took my foot off the gas around 4 minutes. Probably shouldn't have done that. We could have went and scored again. That's on me. Full credit to him as a play caller or whatever. He's owning that. But what I liked is that you said, "Hey, we got a minute or so. We got to go score. We need something. Let's go win the game, right? We have a chance to win it." And that the team didn't say, "Oh, let's just go play for overtime or whatever." They said, "Okay, let's go do it," and then they executed it. Right. That last drive was great. What was it? The last one, 9 plays, 61 yards in a minute. You know, that is
yeah, they were moving.
it's perfect, right? I was joking that he's like he was like Aaron Rodgers out there. Rodgers with a D. Was it a day you run up the middle for 1 yard? That just take kind of get it going. Also, you kind of say, hey, do we have anything here? Take a 23 yards to Rod Burns, right? First down, got out of bounds. I'm gonna read this to everybody. Incomplete pass to Jordan Smart, fine. Incomplete pass to Damon Ward, broke up by their squad. Uh, 7 yards to Rod Burns. This is the one I think that real rollout on 3rd and 4. First and 10, scrambles to the right for a gain of 3. Right. This is one of those ones where he was like trapped dead to rights. Another quarterback probably gets sacked. That drive is probably killed, or just the dynamics are changed. It just becomes harder or something. First down, run out of bounds, 3 yards. It's just 3 yards, you say, right? That's not a big deal. But that probably was a 4 yard loss. So it's a +7 in terms of like, to North Texas, what could have been to this game. Something I've said in this show a bunch of times is that you need some guys that give you shouldn't yards, right? Like Jeff Wilson, he's in the NFL now. It makes sense. He would turn some of those -1 yard gains into a +7, right? It shows up as a 6 yard run, but he just broke a tackle, ran by a guy, and got 7 yards, or got 6 yards. But yeah, that's a +7 gain. You need some of those, right? Because the scheme, like, man, we had him there, and he was tackled, but then he turned it into something else, right? You need those. This was one of those, right? Shake off a dude, scramble out of bounds, +3. You get +3 when it should have been plus -1. Or -4 is what I said.
Negative
Uh,
4 with the clock running too.
yeah, yeah, and then that whole time there, right? Like losing any time, getting a sack or something like that at that point in time. And I'm trying to see the time on the clock there. It was 18 seconds left. Yeah, 25 seconds left. The next play was 18 seconds. He threw left, right, looking at Jordan Smart in the end zone. Again, there's an incompletion, but it wasn't a bad incompletion. Like all those ones that I've talked about, incompletions, it's like their guy has to make a play and knocks the ball down, right? It's not, I just overthrew him. The guy didn't have a chance, or something like that. It's like our guys are there and they're like diving in, hand on the ball, to try to get an incompletion. 3rd and 7, Adeye, 21 yards. This is huge. 21 yards, gets out of bounds at the La Tech 14. First down, 7 seconds to go. Then after this point, you just line up and kick the ball. And Noah Matic Rauschenberg kicks it in. It's all good. It's all over. And that's the drive. That's the perfect kind of drive, right? Big time throws, big time run, good call, good play calling. Everything was perfect. Went out there and won the game on the road. It's not always perfect. You get a little myopic. Colorado last night were 20 point favorites against Colorado State. They had a bunch of celebrities in there. They needed a 98-yard drive and a 2 point conversion in one minute to go, right? And they pulled it off and they went in overtime and everybody's praising them, right? You're like, oh, we're 20 point favorites. Whatever, man. Just get the win. Just go win the game, right? In this one, and we'll start talking about it now. Up 10, like 4 minutes left, allow Louisiana Tech to tie the game. Momentum's completely shifted. All 12 fans, all 12 Louisiana Tech fans are rowdy. They're getting crazy. Um, and swinging their Walmart t-shirts. And, and and then what? What do you do? You go win the game, right? That's it. You can't play defense. There's no use barking at the defense or anything like that. You have the opportunity, you have the ball, go win the game, and they did so. So round of applause is due. Do we have,
Is your soundboard up?
yeah, there it is. There it is. Round of applause. We're happy, guys. So yeah, the defense in that
Yeah.
action. Let's talk about that.
Oh.
Go ahead. You do it.
That's all I wanted to say about the defense. Okay.
The defense. Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
mean they showed. So when you say like they showed flashes, right? When you talk
Mhm.
about specific players or specific parts of the offense and the defense, you're saying they're not good right now, but they're getting there. The offense, I think that's what we got. It's not about showing flashes. This is what we got. This is where we're gonna have moving forward. What we see is what we're gonna get. We're just gonna see improvement from Rogers as they go along. From regards to the defense, I think we're seeing flashes. We're not there yet. The team has just got to get more comfortable, better chemistry, better football knowledge, and we saw this happen with Latrell's regime as with within the last 3 seasons. Right, we saw new guys come in. I think this is when Kosh was brought in. We saw awful decision making. Guys didn't know where they were supposed to be, finger pointing all over the field, and then Bennett comes in, rights the ship, teaches everybody where they need to be. I think that we're going to see the same thing here, and I don't want to. I'm not suggesting like coaching changes or anything like that, but guys are learning where they're supposed to be on the field, and there's going to be a learning curve there. It's very complicated for them to read the field and then make decisions based on that, and so um, it's going to take some time. We're not going to see we're seeing these 560 yards per game kind of defense. I'm not saying we're going to get down to 250 by the end of the season. We're probably going to hover. It'll improve. Maybe we'll see 400 to 450 yards per game, which still is a significant amount. It's what we allowed. I think that's what we allowed La Tech yesterday, which is not great, right? But
Was it
we're able to
432 is what we allowed.
432.
5.2.
Okay, so that's to say what you saw yesterday, get that feeling, memorize that feeling, because that's the feeling you're going to have the rest of the season. As long as we keep the game under control, that's what under control is going to feel like, which is not great. That's not a good situation. But if the defense is able to keep it under control like that, and the offense is able to just outscore the other team, I hate to say it, but it's going to be boat races at every game. Then you know uh, we're gonna walk into next season with some improvement.
Yeah, so I saw this. Somebody said this on Twitter. They're like, I think that it's gonna be, whoever has the ball last is gonna be, is gonna win all season. And yeah, that's fine with me, man. Like, what was I saying? In 2017, right, that year, North Texas was lucky, right? It was like one score game against Army, one score game against UAB, one score game against Charlotte, I think it was. Just a lot of pulling outs, and that one we come back against UTSA, right? That the miracle drive, right? The drive. Um, it's fine, like winning papers over that, right? As long as you have incremental improvement, but I think you get sometimes So I'd rather be lucky than good, right? If that's the case and we go 8-0 the rest of the way, and it's just a lot of luck, and the defense allows 500 yards, but Rodgers is you know scoring last minute touchdowns for the squad, whatever. Let's, I'd like that scenario, right? My heart will probably pop, but whatever. That's why they make medications for, and the the best country in the world to have some heart problems at this point in time in history. Uh,
It's a good point because the season before that it was the opposite, right? Where the ball there would be a fumble, but the ball would bounce the wrong way and go towards
yeah.
the other team. While that season that you're talking about, the opposite happened and the fumbles were going towards us. So yeah, better lucky than good, but we had also improvements in talent.
Yeah, the 2018 team was very, very good. The defense was ferocious. The offense was explosive. That team, I think, all the way up until the bowl game, hadn't trailed for more than like 15 minutes all season, right? And they lost a couple games because Louisiana Tech blocked a field goal that was a game winner. UAB, North Texas went up 21-3 or 21-10, whatever it was in the first half in Birmingham, and then didn't score the rest of the in the second half. And then there
You
was
can still hear.
that weird loss against Charlotte. Like just weird stuff happened to them. They were unlucky, and then maybe not as good, or some injuries, blah blah blah. Right, but that team was better. If you got that 2018 team, lined them up against the 2017 team, I think what would happen is that the 2018 team would go up by like 3 scores, and then feel good, and the 2017 team, because they're lucky, they would pull out a win. You're like, how did they do that? And you're like, I don't know. That's just that's just what it was. But like just talent, 18 was better than 17, but it didn't matter, right? Because 17 won just a little bit better overall. Now, uh, without playing history lesson again, I'll say that like what I liked about this game, you look at the totals. Oh, um, 37 points, 432 yards allowed. 5.4 rush yards attempt, 215 rush yards total, 217 pass yards. Um, looks like they were moving the ball up and down the field, and then their quarterback came in, right? And he just chucking it down the field. Allen, there was Smoke Harris dancing around. He had 2 touchdowns, dancing around our whole team, right? Both of his touchdowns were highlight reel touchdowns. Um, not good. But through 3 quarters, Louisiana Tech only had 216 yards and 14 points, right? In the first half, 14 points for them, 164 total yards, right? First quarter, 0 points, 4 yards total. That's good. That was good. And in the same way we say, oh, well, those first half mistakes against FIU, throwing a pick six here and there, whatever. There were times when the defense was doing a good enough job, right? So you can say, hey, there was that middle period. Morris referenced it, and I saw it in the thing where the defense was stopping FIU in that middle portion. And if it weren't for some turnovers, then the score line maybe reflects that a little bit better, right? And like
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. So that's another reason on the offense to stay perfect, because all that said and acknowledged and applauded and whatever, and receipts handed out or whatever. You have on this other side the fact that they did get exploded, right? Fourth quarter only, 23 points. Or was it not 20? Yeah, was it 23 points?
I think it was
Yeah,
23.
yeah, yeah. It just looks weird. I didn't believe it. 23 points in the fourth quarter, 164 yards, right? Rushing 4.7 yards per pop, through 107 yards passing. Again, in just 1 quarter, right? 9 first downs, um, 2 or 3 on third down conversions, 6.8 yards per play. That's a lot different, right? They just basically doubled all the yardage. They flew down the field at one time. Just okay, they were desperate. Whatever you want to call, that needs to be improved, right? If you
Yeah,
have that instead of 23
it,
points, 12 points, this game is not. It's not nearly as close. So I think that there's that to consider, right? This defense is going to get smoked, right? It just is what it is. But you just want to reduce, like, make those we're going to get burned times not mean as much, not matter, right? They won that this defense contributed to this win in the first quarter. It was not 10-10. It was not 13-10. It was not 21-10, right? In their favor. It was 10-0. Right? We've seen that before. That's a difference. Texas jumps out 10-0 lead. it's been like, I remember for a while they're like, "Yep, North Texas down 21-0." It just seemed like that always happened. I don't know how we got down.
Yeah,
Like we didn't
having
start
to
up the
dig out
game.
of those holes.
Defense came out, and credit to them. Hey, four man front just weirded out a little bit. Weird them out. The offensive coordinator was like, I didn't really plan for this. Just weird them out for a little bit, and they can do their
What
explosive
is
plays
this?
later. Yeah, but as it was being up 10 points with 4 minutes to go, that's ideal time. They didn't close out the game, but it's also college football. We got to acknowledge the crazy that there's 20-year-old kids out there now. 20-year-old kids are like it's like toddlers. You know what I mean? You don't know what they're gonna do. You're pretty sure they know.
Yeah,
You told them what to do, but you can't really trust them to do what they're supposed
but
to do.
that's a good point. With a 10-point lead, there's different ways to look at it. But the opposing offense is going to pin their ears back to get that to make up that ground. But our defense is going to pin their ears back to maintain that. So both teams have got something going on. And it's not you can't get comfortable in that situation. I'm not saying our defense did. I think La Tech made some ballsy plays that they just frankly executed or got lucky on. Uh, and credit to them there. But uh, our defense can't be giving up 165 yards in one quarter. That's unreal. That's something that you should see across a half,
Yeah,
and that's a big amount. So things to improve definitely. I think we've gone up against some talent deficient teams like FIU and La Tech. I think that's gonna change as the season progresses, and we might see some bad losses, or maybe if we improve, we'll see some competitive games. I'm hoping that's the case. Um, it's I'm still holding my breath on defense. Even though we didn't allow some yards in a quarter, we allowed a whole bunch in other quarters. And I think that's where I'm gonna keep it. We're not we're not an aggressive attacking defense like we had with Refit and Eckler back in the day. In terms of the 3-3-5, I think we're playing it safe and like you said, bend don't break, trying to keep plays in front of us and stop from chasing guys down, which is what we saw the first two games. A lot of chasing down, and so it was good to see that difference. And I think you're starting to see some of that coaching. Eric Morris is different in terms of how he speaks to the press and stuff, less coach speak and more of like actionable items. Like when you're having a project meeting and you're talking about pain points and what's working, what's not, and what's progressing in that project, and you say, okay, well, what are the action items for the next meeting? And that's what he's going through. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, which is great if you're winning. If you're losing all the time, it's not going to matter if well, we got to run the ball better
yeah,
versus we're going to go back and look at the defense and make some changes. If you're still losing, who cares? We're still going to be mad at you. But if you start to win and make those changes, then it's going to be, in that case, a breath of fresh air, if you will.
yeah. I forget who said it. Is like, but yeah, like you get overpraised for being a head coach, right? And so, um, you can take some of the criticism, a little bit too much criticism too. Like that's the correction, right? When you win, everybody's like, "Wow, you're a genius." Are you a genius? Not really, right? But then so when you lose, maybe it went against you, but then they're like, "You're the worst guy ever." That's the job, right? You get overpraised, so you bank some of that praise, hopefully, and try to feel good about it. I got undeserved praise. I'm getting undeserved criticism also. This stands out, right? In the second quarter, second, third quarter. One was a 19-yard play for Louisiana Tech, gain of 15 plus. 17-yard pass, moved down the field. But that 19-yard touchdown, uh, was the touchdown to Smoke Harris, where he caught across the middle, danced, scoots around, touchdown. In the fourth quarter, Jack Turner hit 43 yards to Cyrus Allen. That was huge. That's one on one. We talked about this winning your one on one matchups. In soccer, they call them duels, right? A lot of sport comes down to, all right, we just got to win this. It doesn't matter if you're in the right spot. If you can't guard him, it doesn't matter, right? Like it's one on one, right? The famous Mike Jordan versus was it Byron Russell? It's one on one. Your best defender against their best basketball player. Can you get a stop? The answer was no. No, you could not get a stop. You got crossed up, jumper in your eye, and that's it. right? That's the game. It all comes down to that. Whatever you want to do, all the schemes, yeah, how we're going to defend this situation. But it came down to, can we get a stop? Our one guy against your one guy. That's a lot of sport. Um, and you look at Lionel Messi. Everybody's looking at that. He's getting a free kick. Best player in the world. Can you stop him? Answer's no. Right? Could not stop him. Puts it top corner, top bins, and it's over with.
He's
Um,
an alien.
yeah,
He
yeah. So
he's got this gravitational pull. Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
So yeah, but yeah, you're right. Like sometimes it works out that way, and so a good amount of all the stuff you're saying is that, like, are we putting our guys in like, do we want our best guys in the best position to defend? And sometimes you just lose, right? Lorenzo Thompson is a converted wide receiver. He's starting cornerback now. He went up against Cyrus Allen and got beat over the top 43 yards, right? That happens. You have to have a short memory, whatever. But that was in the fourth quarter, right? 43 yards of their 100 whatever it was. And then the big one, hey, we need to stop. We're up 7. They threw a short pass to the right to Smoke Harris, caught at the North Texas 37, scooted past 4 North Texas dudes, including the guy head up. I think it was Lorenzo Thompson, actually. But you know what I mean? Like, what we're asking is Lorenzo Thompson our best tackler in space? No, he's not. And that was a situation where we're asking him to make a play that's not his strength, right? We'd rather him cover guys. But sometimes you just got to make a play, and he was not able to. And I'm not talking mess, but that is what it is. They put their best guy in a position to succeed, right? Smoke Harris in open field. He's dangerous. He's scored a lot of touchdowns. He's gotten a lot of yards. He's punt return. He can do some things. He's in the open field. Their offense threw it to him, open field. It's over with, right? Just basically, and he scores a touchdown. I think that's an improvement area, and I think the other thing is like finding guys that can tackle or something like that is the next level. You got 2 weeks to improve. That's the great part. Bye week this time, and then you got Abilene Christian. Now, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Abilene Christian is a game that North Texas should be winning by a lot of points. We've already seen some other teams do that. Like FIU barely beat Maine, but we should go out there and put up 50 and hold them to 10. And then 10 is being generous. That's what should happen. It should be 50-10.
What
Blow them out.
should happen, yeah.
Yeah.
And what you were saying about being in position to succeed, and that's true because we need to put our guys in position to succeed because we don't have the one guy that makes a difference on defense, right? On offense, we've got a few guys. Chandler Rogers being the top guy, and because he's the quarterback, right? He's got to put it pass it to in the right spot, but he's also got the wheels to change the dynamic of any single play. On defense, we don't have that kind of guy. We don't have the defenders that other teams have had, and I'm blanking on all of their names, but La Tech defensive end, UTSA defensive end, those guys that can just break down a play.
You mean Jalen
Because
Ferguson and Marcus, was it Davenport, that guy? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you. So while La Tech's receiver can get open, we're being so disruptive on the edge or down the middle. If we had a disruptive enough nose tackle, that we wouldn't have to worry about Lorenzo Thompson having a tackle in open space or keep up with the guy. We don't have that, so we need to make sure that all 11 guys, not to sound cliche, but all 11 guys have to do their job to the best of their ability. Like you say, he got beat a couple times. Doesn't mean he sucks. That happens to everybody. You've seen Jamal Adams, Jalen Ramsey, all those guys get beat every once in a while, and it's just going to take some time to go through these growing pains to improve the defense. No amount of scheming or change of schemes is going to change the fact that we may look slower than other teams out on the field. It's just going to come down to recruiting to your scheme. The 3-5 will mask those problems, right? But not all of them, especially when they run past you and you're making a lot of mental mistakes, shooting the wrong gap, being impatient. and we saw some improvement there. We're not going to be a shutdown defense anytime soon. I'm not even talking about next season or the season after that. But at least we've got to outrun the other guys, right? In terms of points, in terms of offense. As long as the offense is working, and I think we're in a position there to be able to help out the defense with the offense, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna play a little bit of the interview that the Mean Green Radio Network did with the the coach, and you can
See collectively is do it, and then defense came out early, got
I got like only half
see collectively is do it, and then defense came out early, got 2, 3 and outs, which was huge. We started the game fast, so you could kind of see, we're starting to buy in and we're playing together. The toughness was there. There's just so many things we have to continue to clean up. This team can be a good team. Just the margin of error is so small right now, and we have to do a great job of coaches at continuing to shrink that margin of error.
You and Matt Capone went to work on this deep.
So I thought that was huge, right? He's talking about like they're a work in progress, right? You can see that. And I think that's all we can ask, right? The thrust of this show, right? MeanGreenNation.com, the whole thing is about being smarter than just hot take guys. Like, what are we gonna do? Yeah, Boris is yelled the hot. I mean, it's to like be a smarter fan, right? Like, all right, they're improving. Are we seeing that? Are we judging them on the right things, right? I think with like Seth and Terrell, it was hey, I think he kind of took us about as far as he can go. He was here for 7 years, and it kind of stagnated. It's you are what you are. It's a 6-win team, 6-loss team. Losing in the championship game by blowout margin, not really get close. That's it. Um, Eric Morse, yeah, yeah, twice. Um, and so like that's one of those things, right? Hey, you got the championship game twice and got blown out twice. Like I don't know how I'm supposed to feel good, but then I don't feel good about that, right? Um,
Yeah, and then people are like, "You got to be grateful for what you have." I'm like, no,
yeah,
we
I mean,
but we don't have the thing that
yeah,
every team wants.
yeah. So you always want improvement and growth and stuff like that, and sometimes you start over, and that's why I think it's okay to rebuild. And I know there's a lot of pressure on everybody now, and things are different, right? You don't have 4 years to develop high schoolers. You have the transfer portal, and that's changed the dynamic, right? Like you can't always be prime and turn in a 111 squad, just disappear everybody and then bring basically a whole new squad in, and then go 3-0. That's difficult. That's why everybody's caring about it because it's very difficult and it's remarkable. So in Denton at North Texas, it's a different situation. You didn't go 1-11, right? You got the Conference USA championship game. You have a good offense. There's good players, good stuff. But it's getting better. The defense needs some work because you lost players, right? You lost good players. They went to P5 squads. And you're talking about like dynamic guys. The Murphy twins are some of those guys, and they went to UCLA because they leveled up. And I think Mason Richards is a little. He has that capability, and he might be one that would benefit from a scheme change because he was in that 4-man line and he flew around and got sacked. When he's been in the 3-man front as the edge rusher, he's done some okay things. You can see him like, oh, he's wreaking some havoc here, but it's not enough havoc to disrupt the offense.
Yeah, he kind of disappears.
Yeah, and you're like, hey, he's playing well, but he's not really affecting the game. Like you need 11 guys to play defense, not just one. Even though one can affect everything. So yeah, I mean, what I like about my takeaway is, as you're saying, there's improvement. We originally thought this defense could be okay, good enough. It don't need to be shut. I don't want to expect, but there was we were tilting, right? Beep beep beep, because 669 yards against Cal. Like, oh man, yeah, all right, Power Five, what all the excuses, right? New scheme, new system. They were getting smoked out there, right? It was gaping holes. It was. You're like, okay, this is bad. And then okay,
Yeah,
FIU's not good on offense. Freshman quarterback. But they made that guy look like Joe Montana, Tom Brady out there, just standing tall in the pocket, picking out a pass. Okay, guys, can we can we and then the other part is the tackling, right? It's not you're in the right position. I called it out during the week, the post. Um, you're there, right there, make a tackle. But they turned a 2-yard, what would have been a 2-yard gain into a 7, 8 yard game, right?
Two
Four guys.
touchdowns.
Yeah, and then yeah, and you're like, what happened? So you can't have those kinds of things. And then on top of it is turnovers, whatever. So if the offense plays close to this, circa 450 yards, 30 plus points, I can live. The defense is giving up 27, 28. I think we can get some wins. That's fine. It's not going to be perfect, like you said. There's going to be some two-play drives where linebacker misses the tackle at the line of scrimmage and the guy scoots for 50 yards. Whatever. As long as it's not happening once a quarter, be all right. I can live with once a game. I'm not gonna be happy about it, but I can live with it. I mean, all right,
And
all right, all right.
it's a pendulum swing between the types of coaches that we bring in, right? So we had Todd Dodge, big offenses, terrible defense. Then Dan McCarney, it was some of the best defenses we've seen in a long time with an average offense, which was good enough to get us a bowl win. Some good years there. Um, Now we've got two offensive-minded coaches in a row, and we're going to see continue to see huge offenses. I think even bigger than we've seen in the past with Latrell, and I think this just happens. That's just how Eric Morris schemes games. But then the defense is regressing, and I'm hoping we can get back to average, where we had the opposite with Dan McCarney with the great defense, average offense. I would like a great offense, average defense, and then that should take care of business more often than not.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have the worst, right? You can't have the worst defense in the nation. And Seth Luttrell, he used some goodwill in the season he had. That was the Kosh defense. He had the worst defense in the NFL. NFL in the sorry, I was looking at the NFL logo there. He had the worst defense in the nation, right? That was it, right? It was that year that we were like, was it App State ran for like 500 yards in the bowl game? Like that. That was ridiculous, right? That was the worst defense in the nation. You
Getting
can't have the
flashback.
worst, and that's why it was freak out time because we had the worst defense in the nation after 2 weeks against again not a really impressive, you know, offense, right? Louisiana Tech, they're better. I think they're better on offense than FIU, and held them to 432. But like I said, what's more impressive is that they held them to was it 250 yards through 3 quarters, right? 350 yards through 3 quarters, whatever it was. That's good because that's winning football. You can live with that. They scored a couple of times, but they weren't blowing you out. That's good. I can live with that. And so that's what excites me about the whole thing. The fourth quarter was not good, but all right, that's the
Yeah,
improvement again. We got 2 weeks to
but
improve that.
it's the cliche, right? Of it's 60 minutes, it's 4 quarters, two halves, whatever you want to say.
Yeah,
If you're able to keep them at bay for 3 quarters, a mediocre team or a terrible team like FIU, if you're able to keep them at bay for 3 quarters, but then the wheels fall off when it counts, it's not going to matter. You're not going to
yeah,
reflect back to those 3 quarters and say, well, I mean, we looked really good for those 3 quarters.
yeah.
We still
Well,
lost.
what I'd say is that like it's the other thing, right? Like what lessons do you learn is that you got to play like you had those what was it that Peyton Manning Kansas City Chief playoff game from I'm never have to think a game from like 2003, but there was like yeah nobody can be able to stop anybody, so you just have to coach that way, right? So Morris is saying, yeah, I took my foot off the gas around 4 minutes. I probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah, because your defense has that potential. Like that's one thing you learn. You're like, hey, in this game, we're doing a good job stopping them. But maybe the next time you play an FBS squad, I think the next one's UTSA, right? Or is it it's Navy? It's a Navy. That's a weird spot. Um, that you're like, okay, uh, might be playing well right now, but let's go try to score again, right? Because you never know. I don't want to be in a situation where we give up 10 points because giving up 10. I was saying to my wife, I was like, I mean, it's strength versus weakness right here, right? It's when they do it to Smoke Harris. He's their best open field runner, and we're not good at tackling guys in the open field, right? Like Smoke Harris can go play for a P5 team, and we're not good at tackling open field guys. What do we do? Like that's it's strength versus weakness. We can't really operate like that. What I so when hey, I think if we have the ball last That's the only way we're winning the game. Yeah, I like that because that's our strength. Our offense is their strength. I like how calm Chandler Rogers was, how explosive Iowa Day was, how solid Rod Burns was, right, and how dangerous Macklin is on the outside. That's I am comfortable with that. That's our strength. But if you're like, oh wait, we need Lorenzo Thompson, converted wide receiver, to shut down the 12th year 12th year receiver Smoke Harris. And like, yeah, I don't know if that's gonna work out, guys. Like, I'm joking. Lorenzo Thompson looked like he did a lot of good things out there, but you see my point, right? It's
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Play to the strengths, and honestly, and on the Super Secret Slack that I've been chanting for running the ball, and I honestly thought we would start out the season running the ball more than we had been passing, just because we were rolling out some pretty raw talent out there, and you both Stone Earl and
Rogers.
Chandler Rogers had never started a game before, and both guys have wheels on them. So I was expecting, okay, a lot of run
Well, I'm saying
options.
Rogers played at ULM. I mean, he did some things.
No, I
It's
know,
not like
and
it's not
and
like, hey, what's this? This is a
ULM isn't.
football, kid. Get out there and be the quarterback. It's not like that.
And not to talk trash about ULM. They're not
Yeah.
FCS. Are they FCS? Did they move back down?
No,
Somebody was going to move
they're
back down.
still
Okay,
FBS.
okay. Former Sunbelt conference mate,
The
right?
iteration over here. I get your point. Is that like, hey, it's new? I mean, Rogers didn't win the job right away, so whether or not that was motivational or whatever the case is. I get your point. You're like, hey,
Yeah,
let's rely
at
on what we
away,
have. Yeah,
Ragsdale, Adey, all those guys, plus these two quarterbacks with nice wheels on them. I was expecting us to run 60% of the time, pass 40% of the time until everybody got used to the scheme and got comfortable and blah blah blah. Complete opposite, where we're passing all the time. It might be the reason why we saw so many mistakes there. But I felt like we had more dedication to the ground game, a lot more improvement in having successful plays. And to Day's credit, he was the one that brought in all those explosive plays on the ground. And I wanted to see more of it, running more, give me more, because it's good. But obviously, we've got talent through the air too.
yeah. I think I sort of expect this. I didn't write too much about it, so I can't point back to it. Like, hey, look at me being right. But like you see with like Mike Leach teams or a lot of these and the reason is a lot of the air raid teams because they give the quarterback so much freedom, and it's not just freedom like do whatever you want, but like they have responsibility. Should be they have so much responsibility to go up to the line to make checks that if you're not comfortable doing that or you're kind of figuring out what's what, you kind of struggle early in the season, and you see like those Texas Tech teams. They play a lot of FCS squads. Some of that just to give you room for error, right? But I think Mike Leach would sometimes lose to some of those FCS squads, right, when they had some weird seasons. And some of that again was trying to figure out what kind of team they had, right? And that's the quarterback because you call a play, hey, we're gonna run, 94, whatever, and then, but the real play is like this is your suggestion. Go pick a play that works, right? You're on the field. You're reading the defense. You can see it all. I'm over here on the sideline. You make the call. I'm giving you a play, but you should get us out of bad plays. That's your real thing, right? It's not, you see the quarterback say, do it over there. What would you see? Why'd you do it over there? But it's like, why did you run the call or run the play? And you're like, well, because that's what you called. They're like, I mean, I called the play, but you're on, that's the thing. There was that famous situation where the guy, like Mike Leach gave him a play and he checked out of it and he ended up throwing a touchdown, whatever, like that. And, like it was like a practice scenario. And then the player was like, yeah, I just didn't, I just basically did it himself. Mike Leach was like, yeah, that's what I wanted you to do. That was the whole thing. That was the whole reason for
You
doing it.
passed the test.
Yeah, and so that's it, and I think that's what's cool about Chandler Rogers is that he looks comfortable out there and he's operating with a level of comfort that you said is I think it's only gonna get better, right? Because as he finds out what he likes, and then he's gonna make some calls and some changes that that suit him. So it's only gonna be a little bit better. At least that's the hope, right? Yeah.
I
Ladies and
feel a
gentlemen,
lot better.
I think well, yeah, because we won. 2 week
Yes.
break. I think we're gonna try to podcast next week and do a little something. I don't know what. That's what you can expect, ladies and gentlemen. But as for the squad, it's break time, and then it's Abilene Christian, in Denon. I don't like how hard T's they do. I still listen to the radio network. The Denton area, they like throw it at you. Denton.
Then 10.
Hey man, it hurts my ears. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening to Mean Green Nation podcast. Go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.